your things, your ego, your reputation, and all that. You can't care about any of that. The children of anger will use it to control you. But if you love God, he will renew your mind, and none of those things will be before him. And so when they go after you, oh, well, you may take my body, you may take my things, but you're not going to take my soul. And that's a true reality. I have books that are amazing. I highly recommend you get them. 7 Guaranteed Steps to Spiritual, Family, and Financial Success Guide. Even if you're not starting a business, but you have a job, or you're on welfare, it can help you if you do. Be doers of the word, all right? From rage to responsibility. From rage. That's what I write about in the first chapter, especially how I overcame. Scam. How the black leadership exploits black Americans. They're using them, and blacks are too willing to be used. And then my last book, The Antidote, Healing America from the Poison of Hate, Blame, and Victimhood. They are all amazing books, and they are helpful. Go to rebuildingtheman.com if you want an autographed copy, or call 800-411-2663. So, here's what I recommend. I invite you to download my silent prayer, and I want you to start doing it. You just download it, get the points of how to do it, and then after a while, you just do it on your own. It's going to point you in the right direction that your life will be returned to you from God. He will give you your life back, because anyone and all people who has anger, they're not themselves. You are the person that you are angry at. That's why it's so important to get to know yourself so that you can see who you're angry at. And if you're doing the hooping and hollering prayers and things like that, some people get up, oh, praise the Lord, hoop and holler, bless my mama, bless my daddy. Continue to do it. Do both. You will see if you want to stay with the hooping and hollering, or do you want to be still and know God. So my gift to you, no charge, at rebuildingtheman.com/church. Steve, thank you for calling and thanks for holding. How have you been helped by the show?
I'm going to tell you this. I believe you might go down in history as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, black man that ever lived on planet Earth, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know anybody before you that's been that great. You know, freeing the slaves is one thing, but you've been freeing people of their mind, which matters, it should be anyhow, to you more than anything else, because with the mind not being right, there ain't nothing else going to happen right anyway.
If you can doubt every thought, because you're not your thoughts, if you can doubt every thought, knowing that you're not your thoughts, you don't create them, they're not from God, that they're from the deceiver, the great deceiver, Satan. If you can doubt every thought, you can be free, just like that. At an instant. Bring every thought into captivity. It's so amazing. Isn't he Mexican?
Colombia.
He calls himself American.
What is this?
Anchor Baby.
And in this corner, it's the American Anchor Baby.
Daddy's home. That's an offensive term. People find that hurtful.
You mean it's not politically correct? Excuse me. I'll use the word anchor baby. You know, he's an anchor baby in Canada.
Tell him we still rolling with Trump, too.
Anchor baby, the whole thing sounds horrific. You're just making it sound like immigrants are these horrific, greedy people.
Ustedes pueden aceptar mi negocio o aceptar las consecuencias. Plata o plomo.
So you would be considered white, in my opinion.
You the blackest one in this room,
I think so.
And what happened was his mama got pregnant on the other side of the border, and then a few hours before, just before it was time for him to pop out, she jumped across the border and let him fall on American soil. So he became the anchor baby. They don't call him the anchor baby for nothing. Amazing.
We like this anchor baby, right?
Hello, I'm the American Anchor Baby, and this is my show. Thanks for tuning in on this fine Wednesday. It's a fine Wednesday to be back with you today. Got a bit of a show for you. You know how we do. And it's a pleasure to be back here, okay? I'm going to be getting into it. We'll be getting into it here a little bit, okay? Tylenol and autism. It was the Tylenol. It was all the Tylenol I took. What a mess. You may have heard of the announcement. Tylenol, autism. There was some pretty interesting stuff about that. And just there's something that was said about it. The approach to the autism stuff that the Trump administration announced with RFK, that he said something that life is common sense. And a lot of this, talking about the autism announcement and the work they're doing on that, he said life is common sense, and a lot of this is just common sense. And it was pretty interesting because, it caused me to learn a couple things about, like, for example, causal link. They call it a causal link. See, the medical world is very official, and they need to have evidence, right? They got to be real serious about these things. Can't hurt people. It's about health. It's kind of like the mentality, right? So, you hear about a causal link. There is no causal link between doing this or taking this thing and then this disease or this injury. And, it sounds, as a layman, I hear that. I'm like, okay, yeah, I understand. They're trying to find evidence. I come to learn causal link is very specific and leaves out, it ignores and leaves out a lot of common sense, just theories. When you don't have a full-on causal link, it's not necessarily a reason to completely ignore evidence for this or that thing. But the medical world is slow and pretty dumb and full of dumb people. Anyways, we'll get into that. Let me get, welcome the people. We're already getting into it here. Look, Tylenol, autism, Charlie Kirk, and black women. That'll be interesting. And just stuff. Look, Kimmel's back crying for Erica. And as we know, all that crying is lying. And anyway, so look, there's a number of things to get into. Welcome to the show. Appreciate you tuning in. He's the blackest one in the room, but hey, this glizz is on time, so I don't know what you're talking about. But you might be right, Ivana. Welcome to the show. Shift to your right. Thank you in the back there. Paying attention to the details. What can I say? Welcome to the show. My viewers on rumble.com/American Anchor Baby, punchy.tv/Anchor Baby, and of course, you're on YouTube. Welcome. Say hello. Don't be rude. Hit the like and take your shoes off before walking in. Ivana, I understand you're wanting to bring in the decorum. Not everyone is from the East Coast or an Asian or like an ethnic family. So you don't necessarily have to take your shoes off, okay? It's not like it's snowing, not where we are. It's not snowing. Ethnic families take off their shoes coming in, but also I'm familiar like in Canada, so also when it snows. So I bet you the East Coast is like that. So you don't necessarily have to take off your shoes, but show some decorum. Come on in, say hello, leave the like, click the like button. You see everybody clicking the like button. Don't be rude. Leave a little comment. Tell me what you think. Say hello. Okay, Drew, calm down. Okay, now he's taking his pants off. People are just getting real comfortable. You're still in public. We're talking about decorum in a society, in a civilized society with people. You're around people, Drew. Put the pants back on. Sorry, folks. Anyways, 888-775-3773. You got something on your mind? Something you want to talk about? We got callers there. I want to get to all of you. Let's see here. In fact, why don't we do it a little different? Jermaine, Canada, caller right from the get-go. How you doing, sir? On the air. Oh, we got you unmuted. Jermaine, hello, Canada, Nick. How you doing, man?
All is well. How are you?
No complaints. All is well.
Nice. Oh, yeah. You were touching on the Tylenol. Give me a second here, Nate. Let me just make sure the Bluetooth doesn't connect it.
Oh, thanks for that, because that won't sound right.
Yeah. You were talking about Tylenol earlier, and it's kind of funny because I know people take it for like headache and pain and stuff like that. But it's funny because when you have a headache, it's really mean that you're dehydrated and you're lacking sleep. That's pretty much what that is. I was taught that from a young age growing up, so I don't even take Tylenol.
Fair enough. You just kind of deal with the issue.
Yeah.
The dehydration, the whatever.
Yeah, your body's telling you that you're tired or you're lacking sleep. You haven't drank enough water. That's your body telling you that something is wrong and you need to address it. You don't need to take pills to suppress the pain because you're only going to make it worse.
That's fair enough.
And I actually, because I looked this up, does it not affect your liver too, the Tylenol? Which is funny because the liver is where the nutrients get break down and get sent around the body. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's part of that. That's for sure. The liver is part of that. And since it's part of this metabolization process, pretty much everything gets run through it. Well, your blood gets run through the liver. And and so it depends on what's in it. Yeah, acetaminophen, this ingredient in Tylenol is known to be it just, it's a tough thing to metabolize. So you start running grams through the liver, you're going to injure it. You're going to get like bleeding and stuff. It causes bleeding in a lot of your mucous membrane. So it's something that's, it's like a caustic kind of thing. I forget why it does it, but it's something you want to be careful with. I used to look at the label of the Tylenols because I've taken it over the years, of course. And this is just anecdotal. It seems to me like the daily max amount has gone up over the years.
Oh.
It says that there's an amount, you're taking Tylenol in a day. It says on the label that there's a max amount you should take in one day. It's just anecdotal, but I feel like it's gone way up. But anyways, you're saying, I like what you said about Trump said something like, tough it out. He was telling people to tough it out. There's only good things can happen. Now, let's say you really, really need to, because you'll be injured if you don't take it, then that's when you take it. But otherwise, tough it out. There's nothing bad that can happen from that. And that was common sense. I like that.
Yeah, and it's funny because after, I guess Trump announced this or talked about it, there was like pregnant women going viral on TikTok for making video showing their pregnancy and taking Tylenol. That's so funny. Women are so rebellious. That's just funny.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll definitely get to that. They've gone nuts, and they're out of hate. Out of hate. They saw something online on the news, and they went the opposite way, opening themselves up for injury. It's crazy.
That's amazing. I guess at least the pharmacy, they make a lot of money. At least, and it's funny because Hake had a caller earlier, and they were saying like the Jews messed up Western society. I mean, you can't say that, but if people weren't engaged in the messed up thing that they were doing, it wouldn't be like that. So,
of course, it's always a bigger story. If you want to accurately diagnose, and because these are all people who talk about making things better, we got to fix things. If you want to accurately diagnose, you got to tell the whole story. There's the drug dealer and the drug user.
Yeah. But interesting. Now, it's funny because I got a text from my mom today. Well, it's a voice note. And I've forgiven my mom, tell her like, I forgive you for messing me up. You didn't know any better. Also did that to my dad. And my dad accepted so well, and we're pretty like close now, And my mom, she got distance from me after that. I don't really care or whatever. She can do whatever she wants to do. And I'll send her money now and then. So I send money for my sister to pick up. This is in Jamaica, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so my sister and my brother, they don't talk to my dad. And that's their choice. They can do whatever they want. So I told her, pick the money up, give my dad half, and half is for mom. And she's like, why don't you tell him to pick up his own money? I'm like, What does it have to do with anything?
So your sister's over there. Sorry, just
Yeah.
for the understanding of the story. Your sister's over there then.
Yeah.
I gather. Okay.
Yes. So I sent her the money because she can go and grab it. And I told her just give her dad off and give mom off. And she's like, why don't you send his money separately? And I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? Just go pick the money up and drop it off. You don't have to talk to him. You can just give him the money and just do whatever you want after.
I see. She doesn't want to see him.
So because of that, my mom probably knew. She probably knows, right? My sister probably tell her. She hasn't talked to me for a while, and it was my birthday in August. She didn't even message or call me, which to me, it doesn't matter because I don't really celebrate birthday. It doesn't matter to me. But normally she would do that, so I just find it interesting that she didn't. And today she sent me a voice note saying, I wonder what I did to you. I did nothing bad to you, and I have love in my heart. I love these mushy, cushy things. And I'm just laughing, listening to the voice note. And then she went on to mention that, I just want you to know I'm the one that brought you into this world. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be here. I just laughing.
All the gushiness was a threat. I didn't realize all the gushiness came with a threat at the end.
I'm like, this is a mess. So I just find it so funny. Like, oh, Lord.
It sounds humorous. I mean, it sounds like all you did was forgive, but nothing changed. You're still sending them money and all that. And so nothing changed. What I'm saying is that it doesn't seem like your day-to-day changed too much. So for her for her to like distance herself, what did you even do?
Yeah, it's because I told her, like, listen, like, you did the best you can. And I forgive you for what you have done to me by turning me away from my father, because she did. She definitely did. And I see it in my brother and sisters. And there's nothing I can do about it more than for them to go through what they need to go through and probably figure it out for themselves.
Are your parents like together? Are they separated?
Yeah, they've been separated for a long time.
Are they like pretty old?
Yeah, my mom is. She told me she's gonna be 60. So her birthday's coming up to 28.
You said 60?
So yeah.
That's young. My mom is older than that, and she's working. She works.
Nice. So she was telling me that, I'm gonna be 60, and I don't want to die knowing that we didn't get to talk. I'm like, I don't care. Like, if you die, you die. Like, that's not gonna change anything. That's what
Sounds like
I
a
think
guilt
to
trip,
myself.
man.
Yeah,
well, anyways,
so it's just so funny.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Sounds like a guilt trip. Sounds like a mama got offended. You just wanted to forgive. But yeah, it sounds like a mess. I wouldn't even be involved with all that back and forth. Hey, give dad the money. Why go forgive? Blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't even do any of that. I wouldn't do any of that personally.
Yeah, I don't think
because you're saying like, they should just go through what they got to go through for. If that's right, if that's so, that for me would be a reason not to do any of what you said personally.
No, it's
but
not.
anyways,
not
you didn't
that
even ask about that, sir. Jermaine, man, anything last thing you want to say here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't send them money out of guilt or anything. I'm like, I just have some extra money lying. I'm like, I'll just send it. They can do what they want with it. It's not like it's like a guilt or anything holding me back. I just send it because I want to, and that's about it. But for her to try and to guilt trip me into stuff, it's just interesting to see it. Like, I know she's evil, but it's whatever.
So you're sending the devil money? No. I just hit you with the JLP there. Listen, man, Jermaine,
you're right about that.
What am I right about? Because I was hitting you with a bit of a joke, but
devil money.
So that's a true characterization?
That is true. That you're right on the money with that one.
So then, actually, let me ask the question for real. Then, why are you sending the devil money?
She's my mother at the end of the day, So I just said it because I want to. That's about it. It's not
Fair
like
enough.
I still
Hey.
hold anything against her or anything.
This is getting out of my purview, sir. I was just messing around. You know, Jesse is definitely an expert on this. Sir, I got to let you go. Call me again, man. A pleasure.
All right, man. We'll chat.
For
All right,
sure,
Nick.
for sure. All right, sir. All right, 888-775-3773. I'm trying to save nobody. Okay, nobody asking for help. Tylenol, I want to get into this. This is pretty interesting. So you're familiar with this announcement, maybe. You know, Trump said, hey, I got a big announcement coming concerning autism. And he describes the problem that autism has become. And I didn't know. I know I've always heard that the prevalence of it has gone up, but the numbers that Trump expresses during this is it's shocking. I mean, he speaks on numbers like 1 in 10,000 that have changed within the decade to 1 in 36, like something like that, like 1 in the 30s. And then he says for men, for young boys, it's 1 in 12. 1 in 12. So these are insane numbers. I mean, something has to be done when you're kind of running things. You'll see something like that, and you must say to yourself, well, something is happening here. This is no longer just a little thing. Something's happening. So Trump made a big announcement. He said he's got his people working on it and looking into it. He made some commentary about, you know, the expert world and how he considers the work that they're doing, that they looked into autism more than anybody else has. These are the things he was saying. Now, I'll summarize some of this because it's like a long thing, and he kicks it off here. He kicks it off talking about how bad it is, how much it's changed. I gave you some of those numbers. How for boys it's 1 in 12, and he makes an interesting statement. You know, right after all that, and the higher incidence of it, and the necessity for investigation into all this, he describes some interesting data that his colleague, you know, like RFK, you gather is more careful with this. Maybe Trump says it himself. He's like, I'm not going to be careful. Data basically suggests some groups have no autism.
It should be
because they're not taking it. I mean, the data suggests these same groups that are not taking pills and vaccines are finding themselves with a far lower autism.
Grateful for those who are trying to get the answers to this complex situation. And the first,
so we hit you with I know we hit you with the 1.5, and it was like, okay, you guys were being crushed by the gravity. So 1.25, huh? We should work it up, 1.25 speed. We may not need it right now. We may not need it yet.
All of these great doctors behind me were there. I told them this is what we have to find out, because when you go from 20,000 to 10,000 and then you go to 12, you know there's something artificial. They're taking something. And by the way, I think I can say that there are certain groups of people that don't take vaccines and don't take any pills that have no autism. Does that tell you something? That's currently, is that a correct statement, by the way?
There are some studies that suggest that, yeah, with the Amish, for example.
The Amish, yeah, virtually. I heard none. See, Bobby wants to be very careful with what he says, and he should, but I'm not so careful with what I say. But you have certain groups. The Amish, as an example, they have essentially no autism. First,
so that was just some interesting stuff, because you may have heard about this stuff. You may have heard about this stuff I've heard about autism. Look, you just real quick concerning autism. What is it, etc. Because it's changed. So you may have heard of this and that about it. And you're not sure what's the current thinking on it is. They'll call it, remember Asperger's? I mean, that's kind of outdated, I was reading. Basically, as it's known now, it's autism spectrum disorder, a neurodevelopmental condition. And some of the aspects you're familiar with are official, like the, being affected in your social interaction and your ability to communicate, differences in that social communication, rigidity in that, repetitive behaviors, and restricted interests. You heard about some of this, like autism. You get obsessed with certain things. Yeah, you're not off track here. That is like the official stuff here, the CDC and all that. Differences in sensory processing, they'll say. And it's a spectrum. It affects people on varying levels, is what they say. Things I heard about autism too. You may be familiar with some of the thinking behind why the prevalence of it has gone up so much. And we'll get into this in a moment. It's a lot of the experts say the changes, the broadening of the criteria and being able to catch this stuff. That's what they say. It's funny how they loosen the criteria and they're like, wow, look at all this autism we're catching. So glad for the medical world becoming so sophisticated that we could catch more of this. That's amazing. And at the same time, they loosened the restrictions and the criteria, and it's like way more people. Now you could draw a circle around way more people and say autism. It's like, wow, look at everything we're catching. We're so smart.
Effective.
So, yeah, I just wanted to say some of that, some of the stuff on autism, stuff I heard. It'll come up again in a moment. So he describes some of that. He pretty much gets to it here. The announcement on acetaminophen. And he has trouble saying it. Okay.
Immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of well, let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen.
There you go.
Acetaminophen.
There you go.
Is that okay? Yes. Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol, during pregnancy can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. So taking Tylenol is not good. All right, I'll say it. It's not good. For this reason, they are strongly recommending that women limit Tylenol use during pregnancy unless medically necessary. That's, for instance, in cases of extremely high fever, that you feel you can't tough it out, you can't do it. I guess there's that. It's a small number of cases.
One would say Nit has a bit of the tism. Ban him, ban that person, ban that slanderer.
I think. But if you can't tough it out, if you can't do it.
I didn't take that much Tylenol, okay, in my developmental years. So where was I? So he tells you the announcement, acetaminophen. Careful with that stuff. Don't take it. Be careful. Did he already say it about toughing it out?
That you feel you can't tough it out, you can't do it. I guess there's that. It's a small number of cases, I think. But if you can't tough it out, if you can't do it, that's what you're going to have to do. You'll take a Tylenol, but it'll be very sparingly. It can be something that's very dangerous to the woman's health. In other words, a fever that's very, very dangerous. And
see, listen to the common sense. All right, so you got a fever, you want to take Tylenol, don't do it. But this fever is going to cause damage. It is worse than the Tylenol or than the risks of a Tylenol, especially during pregnancy. Then take one. And it's that's between your physician. Very common sense. That's all I gather from this. And he says, tough it out. He goes on. He says this multiple times. Later, he comes back and he makes this comment about toughing it out. He asks the ladies. He's like, ladies, you have to tough it out. Nothing bad can happen from toughing it out. That's so common sense, and I love that. Consider the weakness of society. I mean, I remember growing up like that, and people saying, don't take that. Like, if tough it out. Like, don't. Oh, I got a headache or whatever. Don't just pop a Tylenol. I don't know if that, I don't really hear that kind of thinking. I mean, you could really just, you don't have to really come up with evidence on this, folks. I mean, think about it. A weakening society, no space between, I feel pain, let me stop it. It just makes sense. He goes on to describe, I'll skip some of this, but he goes on to describe also vaccines and the just culture around it. I mean, you basically, back to back, take a young, healthy child that's basically healthy, right? And you start injecting them back to back with all these, he says something like 80, just like back to back. And it's like a known thing that there are adverse effects, inflammation, small fevers. And funny thing, in response to those adverse effects from what they're saying here was far too just not enough time in between the vaccines, just the scheduling being just very tight. You know, in response to those adverse effects, what do the doctors say to do? Give the child Tylenol. Okay, so he was saying, so there were some with their data and what they're saying it might be best to just spread those out. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing bad that can happen with that. Just spreading them out. They're giving these children vaccines for hepatitis B. They're not sexually active. I could totally see a medical world that was nuanced about these things just over the years, just like, hey, just give them the Hep B thing. It's the medically smart thing to do. We are saving the world from viruses. You know, just no nuance, no thinking, no common sense. A child is not sexually active. He was saying we could wait till they're 12. I forget what age he said, but talk about spreading it out. You know, they're getting a lot of criticism for these things about being what I take as common sense about Tylenol. Hey, careful when you're pregnant. Don't just do it as the moment you have pain. Look, we're getting data that it's saying it might be a thing. So careful. We're telling you careful. And they're saying, oh, pseudoscience. This guy can't even pronounce acetaminophen. Let me just start taking Tylenol right away just to F this guy. We'll get to that. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like common sense. I mean, what he's not telling you to he's not saying never take Tylenol. He's not saying Tylenol is evil. He's saying, look, we got this data, and we're suggesting, hey, careful. There's nothing wrong that can happen with just you toughing it out a little bit. It's for your children. Even if it's like Biden saying that, like, wouldn't you want to be a little careful? Just because it's the guy you don't like. And what else about this? I mean, I want to get
Don't take it.
I want to get to the women here, because that was what was interesting about this. I mean, that was just some of the commentary on autism and stuff I was reading about. See, I'm not familiar. I'm not a doctor. I'll tell you this, though. I was mentioning this earlier, but you got all these articles coming out, and they all repeat this medical term. They got all these articles admonishing Trump, saying there's no evidence for what he's saying. It's really, they're fact-checking him, right? They're fact-checking him, and there's no evidence. And they keep repeating this thing about no causal link between the use of Tylenol during pregnancy, et cetera, and what he's saying. No causal link. And something about seeing that term over and over again, it just struck me. I had to kind of look into it a bit. Now, I'm not a doctor, but it seems pretty clear to me that causal link, this term, you know, what they're saying in the articles is there's no evidence that there's no link, no actual link of causation where individuals taking these drugs induced autism. That is to say, there's no definitive, tested, double-blind tested, all that stuff, evidence for that. That's not to say, when there's no causal link, that's not to say that there's no evidence at all. That's all I'm trying to say here. Just because there's no causal link, there's not to say there's no evidence at all. And when you have a constellation of adverse things that are possibly linked, it's common sense to investigate such a thing. And that's pretty much what they're saying here with the Trump and all that. So when you got all these articles saying that's crazy, just take it. Just take more Tylenol, ladies. To spite the administration, please, just take a step back and realize who's acting in common sense and who's not. We need the evidence.
Don't take
experts,
it. Don't take it.
Academics. But what does all that matter if those experts and academics and all those people don't have common sense? It doesn't matter.
There's no downside in not taking it. So I'd like to ask Bobby to come up and say a few words. I hope I didn't ruin his day, but that's the way I feel. I've been very strong on the subject for a long time. You know, life is common sense, too. And there's a lot of common sense in this, and I wish things like this were brought up, and this group has worked so hard on it. But
life is common sense. And there's a lot of common sense in how they're approaching this. And I've expressed some of those from what I've seen. I'm not familiar with the deep, whatever they're doing there about autism and Tylenol. I'm not familiar. But I was just trying to point out some of those common sense things that I gather. I really do. By the way, and then we'll get to calls right after this. So the ladies throwing out all common sense, right? They threw that out the moment they hated their parents and started hating men. They've thrown that all out. What do they do the moment they hear about this? Well, these ladies are sitting around. They hear about this. The liberal media starts admonishing Trump like, oh, look at this fool saying another foolish thing when it's like common sense. So the mass media, the liberal mass media is flouting their responsibility here, misinforming the public. And what are these? And they must know, they got to know that their audience is these women, impressionable, just really just total followers. What do? They see the bottle of Tylenol in their bathroom. They look at their pregnant belly. They're on their phone looking at this, and they say, I know what I'll do. I know what I'll do. I don't even need Tylenol right now. I don't have a headache. I know what I'll do. I'm going to film myself taking these chemicals, these drugs, to, I don't know, get back at the president. You did it, ladies. Wow. Wow, you did it. Wow, yeah. Just down pills, chug them. Let's chug Tylenol for feminism, ladies. Let's do it for the ladies. Just chug down those pills. And that's not me telling you to do that. That's just your mind, which I disavow. Let's write down these pills and do it for the ladies. Do it for feminism. Do it for, I don't know, your rights. This is for your rights, ladies. Here is me, a pregnant woman, taking Tylenol because I believe in science and not someone who has no medical background. The guy is like, what's this guy? This guy with no medical background dared to go on camera and say, hey, guys, autism, we don't want that happening. And I got some info here and I want you to hear it. Like, he's not saying like, he's not telling you anything that'll like harm you, kill you. He just said, consider toughing it out, ladies. And what do? And they get mad. And they get mad when we say, hey, we question, hey, because this happened well before me, right? They tell me that this was a good thing. It needed to happen. They were kept out. Not because they didn't qualify, but simply because they were women. They were left out of the voting process. See, I wasn't there. But here I am now. I'm seeing them. And you want to get mad at me for questioning such history? Questioning such history of being allowed to vote? Look, it's a mess. Look, we'll get to the calls here. Don't go anywhere. About to get to you. Last few clips. Doubling down on their insanity. And in the process, possibly harming their child. I don't think they know for sure that they are not. I don't think they know for sure that they're not harming their child. The woman hates the man, and in her hating of the man and her crusade, destroys the child. Story that goes probably back to the beginning. Doing my civic duty as a pregnant woman and taking Tylenol because this administration is a joke. Wow, you're winning. You're beating them. You're beating them and your child into possible developmental issues. And you know, they're all doing this. And I want you to look at this last one. Because as they're all doing this, internet sleuths, as the ladies are on the TikToks doing all this, taking the Tylenols, they're pregnant, they're mad at Trump, they're defiant and committed to expressing their defiance on the biggest way, most platforms, many people can see. And some internet sleuths messing around, kind of poking around in Tylenol's old tweets. They find one from 2017. A little tweet from 2017. It's Tylenol responding to an individual, telling them, we actually don't recommend using any of our products while pregnant. Thank you for taking the time to voice your concerns today. Now, we don't know who they responded to because this person deleted this. That's deleted, and this was back in 2017. Who knows? Of course, everybody in the comments, they have found this tweet and they're like, boys, we got them. But I just wonder, ladies, after you've guzzled down some Tylenol because you believe in science, I wonder if you are looking at this tweet and just wondering to yourselves, just wondering if you knew this science. Are you familiar with the science? Just how confident are you today now about that science? Because I think Tylenol has scientists, right? And they care about, not harming people. They'd get in trouble. So anyways, you owned them. You got them, ladies. You own the guys, the patriarchy, Trump, and this administration. You did it. Anyways, that was a mess. But I want to get to Mark, first-time caller, I think, out of Florida. How you doing, Mark?
Hey, how you doing? Doing all right.
Appreciate your call, Mark. Welcome.
Yes. I was just kind of getting in on the comments about the medical stuff. I went to medical school.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, it's very interesting. And there's a couple of things that I've noticed with talking about these medicines is that a lot of people don't realize that, the doctor's supposed to talk to you about the risks and the benefits of the medicine. And so it's I guess what I'm saying without going on too much, but it's just obvious that.
No, go ahead. This is good. I welcome this.
Yeah. We talk about things and discuss stuff about COVID or different medicines, or right now you talk about Tylenol. It's very clear that medicine has, just simply put, it's a risk and a benefit. And it's just what I think what I'm saying is it's just talked about in school. It's just sort of, I think every now and then you're talking about like common sense or common knowledge, and it's just not really emphasized enough that it's a potential danger for a woman that's pregnant. It's a danger for anybody. You can have renal failure. Your organs can shut down if you're hypersensitive to Advil, Tylenol, any one of these things.
Mm-hmm. Right,
and
I understand what you're saying. I'm not as a layman though, but I welcome what you're saying. This is very interesting because you're even just hearing you say that. I don't think about the risks of these things. I really don't. And I know that they're supposed to be there. I know the commercials come around. They'll say, might cause, and then it'll be like a whole bunch of terrible things. Yeah, it's just an interesting thing you're bringing up because I don't know if we really think like that. It should be equal. It's just equally as can help you, but it could also harm you.
Right. Exactly. And they're, put out in the public, these are called OTCs, over-the-counter medications. They're just to be used at your own discretion, and other drugs and other medications, are just prescribed by the doctor. What was I going to say? I forgot. It's just such a common knowledge, to pick up an aspirin or Tylenol or any one of the OTCs, and it's just, just so generally accepted, like this is okay, this is not a big deal. But it can really be a big deal if you're allergic to something, or if you're drinking or using different drugs and other. Other medications, there's different potentials for, a real problem, physically. And if you start loading up on these drugs and medications. And I think, well, I guess for me, I wish people could hear what they talk about when you go to school and you sit in the classes and you go through these different things, is that as a medical assistant, and it's just the medical assistant just takes a note, when you come in and take your symptoms and jot it down in your charts and stuff like that for the doctor to see. It would be interesting for people to really actually hear, this is the training that you get because when you say doctor, you're like, oh, he knows. That's right. He or she knows, what you're talking about. And I think the purpose of my comment or, this call is for people to start taking a look at what do you learn when you go. You can just go to night school. I mean, you don't have to go to the best school, but to sit in and kind of listen to what do the healthcare providers and what do the doctors and, what do they talk about these medicines? And one of the number one things is like, well, it's a risk and a benefit. And then
go ahead, please.
Go ahead.
Well,
and also the pregnant women taking something for a fever, you can put ice on your head,
Yeah.
It's actually a recommended thing, to try the ice or try the different things to cool the body down.
Yeah, not every headache's the same. Sometimes it's like a heat and exertion, and just running my head underwater, and I'm set. And I wouldn't have needed a Tylenol for those. I run my head underwater for those, and I'm set.
Right. Sometimes like a dehydration, or sometimes like an allergic thing. A little you breathe some dust. You got some sinus stuff.
Yeah.
Some cold water on your head or something. Or a glass of water to drink a little bit.
Yeah. No, I welcome this call because you were describing people basically educating themselves and the necessity for that. One aspect, because if you just heard how the medical world talked about some of these things that you just consider over the counter, I mean, why would it be that bad for you if you could just buy it at a convenience store, right? If you just heard how some of these medical people talked about these things, you might think different. So I like that aspect, but you also brought up a thing here. I mean, you're asking the public to educate themselves, partly also because you can't trust doctors, or what do you think about that? Like, either due to their incompetence, lack of knowledge, lack of care, etc. It seems like the individual now has to really care for themselves due to that low trust society.
Right. I go to the VA clinic and finally got what I thought he was a good doctor, and I still think he's good. But, he was, kind of hinted around to pushing for some medication that I really didn't want. So you have to learn how to be your own advocate. And then this is my advice. I don't know if somebody wants it or if you're in a discussion. Mm-hmm. You have to learn to be your own advocate. And then when you do your research, like if you go online or you start asking questions from the doctor or from Google or AI or whatever, look for the pros and cons. Look for what the doctor says is wrong with you. Like he says, you've got high blood pressure, you've got some kind of, this is what's going on with you. He wants to solve it with medicine, he or she. And I guess the main thing I would try to say is that they just automatically go to it. Like you can walk in the office and you've got high blood pressure. He's going to start talking about putting you on a blood pressure medication. Mm. Flu season comes around. They're just hooked on, you should have a flu shot. And I guess according to textbooks or a logical way, it seems like it's an idea, It's something to talk about. But it's just not an automatic rubber stamp that most doctors kind of think that way. Mm-hmm. There's something going on. You need to lose weight. Hey, here's a prescription or here's a medication that helps you lose weight. It may not have been researched very well. And right. So I guess, So I guess the point would be to tell the callers or try. Well, you don't want to try to advise people is to start looking at the pros and cons of a medication. What are you trying to do? You have a headache. You have an ongoing problem. Or, what are you trying to resolve? You have high blood pressure on and off. Look at what you're. In this case, it's just inflammation, and you don't feel good.
Interesting, man. Very interesting. Yeah, you got to think for yourself a little here. Well, right on, Mark. I appreciate your call on this. Some people in the audience are interested in your accent, if I may.
That's funny.
It sounds a little Southern to me, personally.
Yeah. I was born and raised in Virginia.
Virginia. Nice.
But I've been living in Florida for like 10, 15 years, and it's always funny to me that, some people will say, I like your accent or whatever, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
You don't even see it as a, I don't know. It also is maybe my lack of what's the word? Experience and meeting all the accents in America, that it could be particularly unique when it's not that unique, to me.
No, I think you got it right, because that's what some people say. It is Virginia. It is weird. It is odd because geographically, Virginia or some of these states, you can still pick up a southern drawl.
Yeah,
and then you can actually go 700 miles south and have run into people that have a northern accent.
It's that it's some transatlantic type accent, sir. But anyways, Mark, I appreciate your call. Call me again.
All right, man. Sounds great. Have a good one.
All right. 888-775-3773. What can I say? Let's keep it moving here. We'll get back to calls. We'll get back to all that. 888-775-3773. Got some amazing coffees here on buymeacoffee.com/anchor, baby. Appreciate the support, y'all. Jermaine, man. I think you just called me. Thanks for the coffee, sir. Says, hi, Nick. Unless this is a different Jermaine. Hi, Nick. How are you? Just wondering, do you play any games? Have you ever played Fortnite? I play like once in a blue moon. I don't really play anything. I'm like, someone told me the pinnacle right now, you got to try the altars. I downloaded that and I played that with the stream. And we did 2 sessions of that. It was interesting. It kind of hooked me a bit, I got to say. And I haven't played a single player experience in years. And then in the middle of those years, I definitely pepper in Tarkov, a little shooting, Escape from Tarkov, but yeah, no. I mean, I come home, I work out, and I've been rocking the piano, I've been rocking the instruments. So we haven't really been playing video games, but we might bring it back for the stream. Sir says you play Fortnite. I don't play Fortnite. Nothing against it. I hear it's huge. It remains huge. Like it dwarfs any other game by a lot. It is the game. And I'm like, it's not even that amazing. And then you know what dwarfs Fortnite by 10 times? And I'm exaggerating some of the numbers. I don't know exactly, but I hear it dwarfs even Fortnite. Roblox. Yeah. Probably my viewers that never touched that don't even know what I'm talking about. That is the game. That game dwarfs. It's just got all the really young people on it. Roblox. Yeah. So there you go. Someone might want to fact check me, but I think I'm on that. Daniel San with the coffees, man. Thank you so much. Says, if only 6% of the pilots are black and a company wants to make it 40%, that company will lower standards to hire people with less qualifications in order to fit a quota. This is what Charlie was critiquing when he said he would wonder if the pilots are the most qualified for their job or just a somewhat qualified person. Yeah, Daniel, I mean, on the topic of qualification, and we're going to get to that, in fact, we're going to get into that here in a moment. Being qualified, and Charlie, was he off? Was he out of pocket? Was he wrong for his question? I mean, there are many of my callers and viewers out there, people criticizing Charlie heavily for that one. I mean, they say he hates black people for that commentary. Imagine that. You're just a person having a natural reaction. You know, there's people who aren't even political. They're not right wing. And they've seen this stuff go around. They're even supportive. I know personally some of these people. They're outwardly and usually quite supportive of anything you'd call affirmative action, DEI, etc. And yet, these individuals I know personally, it's not like they're really saying it to me, but I see it all over their face and what they're saying. I'm like, but would you ride a plane? But if you had a plane, if you were in a plane and this person had a badge that said affirmative action put me here, would you be concerned? And I'm telling you, these same people who are outwardly supportive of DEI, etc., are still at the end of the day self-preserving, because that's how people are. Okay. And it stressed them out thinking about being on a plane with someone, because this is how I put it, right? Because this person I was talking to, I know that they were rational and self-preserving. And even if they supported DEI and affirmative action, I asked them, if you got on a plane, because I had to make it this clear, because they were mad at Charlie Kirk too. If you got on a plane and this black pilot smiles, big old smiles at you like, hey, and has a big badge that says, hi, I'm here thanks to affirmative action. Say hello to me. Would you be concerned? That person was concerned. And it's like anybody would be. Let's be real, because it's about, and the people calling me now, they'll argue about specific details. Like, how do you know this or that pilot is DEI? And do you know if Ketanji Brown Jackson is qualified or not, and what her credentials really are? And those people are nitpicking on the very natural response that people are having to this affirmative action DEI stuff. And so, nitpicking on these details on how do you know if this individual really got here for that, doesn't matter. People are reacting to that because they know what it's about. Namely, it's not about the main thing, whatever they're being hired for. It's like that's secondary, or it shouldn't even be the same level. That's already concerning to their qualifications, their identity, their skin color. So, that's just common sense, man. Karen, thank you so much for the coffee. Says, really enjoy listening. Thank you, Anchor Baby. Fan in Tucson, Arizona. Shout out, Arizona. Shout out to she puts a little saguaro emoji. Those are pretty darn cool. I seen one with my own eyes. They're huge. I'm talking about saguaro cacti, whatever. Those super chats kind of make a good segue into this story here. I want to get into this with you guys. So check this out. Oh, wait, hold on. Apologies. We got super chats as well. Thank you so much for all the support. Very, very nice. Karmic, thank you. Back-to-back super chat says, I'm going to train my dogs. Any suggestions? Dog whisper. Are you saying I'm the dog whisper? I'm the dog whisper. Don't have emotion. Don't overreact. Drew, thank you, says, all my homies hate acetaminophen. Karmic with another one says, Nick, super edgy video game I recommend is Neon White, the edgy games. You're saying this is edgy? Neon White? Edgy sounds good. Edgy sounds kind of interesting for a Friday stream. Neon White. I'll check it out, man. Thanks for the suggestion. All right, so that's all of our super chats and all that for now. Check it out. Charlie Kirk is still coming up. He's definitely a topic, obviously. He came up on CNN. And let me just pause this, make sure that it's ready to go. Because we do have footage here. You might be familiar with this lady, Abby Phillip, a recurring name and face I see over there on CNN. I believe she is a CNN anchor. Abby Phillip, you might be familiar with her. You might recognize her here. Abby Phillip here. I've seen her get into it with people on CNN. So they were all on some show on CNN, okay? Abby's on there, and there's some people on there with their panel. And I gather a number of these people are somewhat pro-Trump to pro-Trump. And they've been discussing Kirk rants, as they call. And so, it reads here, in fact, this article. Among a raft of Kirk rants that have been scrutinized in the wake of his killing is a 2023 commentary on the qualifications of a list of prominent black women. Then MSNBC host Joy Reid, former First Lady Michelle Obama, Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, and Justice Ketanji Jackson. So it was a Charlie Kirk commentary on those women that has this panel talking about it. And I'm going to play some of the footage here in a moment, but it might get a little confusing if you don't have the context of what they're talking about, which is Charlie Kirk and his comments. So it reads here. In fact, I think they have the clip. They have Charlie's clip here. They have more than just the text, so that's nice. But yeah, they're not happy with what he said about black women. At least some people aren't. They have that footage. It's behind an ad. You know how it goes. But I kind of want to let Charlie say it. Charlie Kirk. So here are the comments that this panel on CNN is commenting on. Oh, I think I have to unmute this puppy right here. All right, Charlie, take it away. Oh, wait, no. Spacebar doesn't play videos on this website. Okay.
You really have to wonder. In fact, if we would have said 3 weeks ago, Blake, if we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist.
Huh?
But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously.
Brain processing power. People were really not liking that one. They're saying that's some kind of racist dog whistle. This guy's talking about brain processing power, IQ. It's like this old clip of Biden. They have these collection of clips of Biden, Joe Biden. I mean, he's gone now, but as in like not president, but they have these clips of Biden. They'll say that it was him doing like racist dog whistles, like debating this. I forget who it was, but it was someone of color. And he's like, I'd be delighted to take an IQ test with you. I would be delighted to compare my IQ with yours. And there's like a collection of clips. It's hilarious, about this community, this element. We must take back the streets. Anyway, sorry. I was just remembering some of that. No, I don't want to. I'm not saying there were any dog whistles here. I'm just saying that's what people were mad about. They were focused on the brain processing power thing. And I bring that up too, not just to make the jokes about Biden, but to consider this telling on yourself that is always happening. If we had more awareness of ourselves, we'd be shocked what we're expressing and what we're telling about ourselves. And I guess I want to say black people, but I don't really have any examples of black people being mad at the brain processing comment, but let's just assume for a moment those mad at that, there's always like a telling on yourself thing. Why is it when someone brings up brain processing IQ, the instant thing is to say, well, why say that about black people? Oh, if you want to say, it's like, wow, how do you see yourself? You understand? Like, was anybody even saying that? It sounds like you said that first. So you're saying that blacks are dumber with your instant offense at that. You understand? So where was I here, though? That was his commentary, right? And I guess I'll play this for you here, the CNN panel. I'll play it in a moment here, but I mean, he's essentially right. And I bring this up too because I've had a couple calls about it, It's just a terrible thing, right? To say, I'm a little concerned that this pilot I'm looking at, I'm just looking at his skin color, but it concerns me. I'm wondering if he's qualified or not. That's commentary that's right. I had some of my callers pretty unhappy about it. But he's saying facts. All those people have expressed support or have even said that they themselves have been beneficiaries of affirmative action or DI. Joy Reid, running around, multiple clips, running around. She's saying she loves saying it. She's like, yeah, I'm DI. Yeah, I got here because I'm black. And that's a good thing. It should be that way. I mean, she's saying that outright. That was her saying it. Sheila Jackson Lee, explicitly stating she is a clear recipient of affirmative action, particularly in higher education. That's like a quote. That's a quote. That's a quote. I'm showing this to you.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from Texas seek recognition?
I didn't know I had footage here, but it looks like I might have footage. Hopefully they get right to it.
For 1 minute.
Without objection, the gentlewoman is recognized for 1 minute.
I rise today to join my colleagues in the Congressional Black Caucus and will continue to work with them and proceed to analyze the very wrong-headed decision that was made.
She has passed away, if I remember correctly.
By the United States Supreme Court on the question of affirmative action. I thank the gentlelady from Florida, the gentleman from New York, and certainly the gentleman from Nevada in their leadership. But I rise today as a clear recipient of affirmative action, and particularly in higher education. I may have been admitted on affirmative action, both in terms of being a woman and a woman of color, but I can declare that I did not graduate on affirmative action.
Okay, so she was just making that clear, I guess. But look, whoa, what's up with that? Mediaite, that's loud. Yeah, so he was right. He was saying facts. Just for the record. For the record on what he said. He was saying facts. These people openly say. So in a moment here, the panel is going to argue and say, and you'll see some of the guys on the panel in the face of this black woman saying, oh, Trump supported Amy Coney Barrett. He said he's going to make a woman. He's going to nominate a woman. Was that affirmative action? What makes her qualified? And not Michelle Obama, Ketanji, Sheila Jackson Lee. You're going to see some of these people on the panel kind of like sweat a bit, like, no, she is qualified. Blah, 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 blah. You'll see some of that, but so on that, but just on that point, he was saying facts. Sheila's telling her, you're Ketanji herself. Well, hold on. Yeah, Michelle Obama talking about she's one of the few black students at her university, acknowledging she sometimes wondered if people assumed she'd been accepted because of affirmative action. Well, I guess that she supports it, okay. And Ketanji, there was this case. It was Students for Fair Admissions versus President and Fellows of Harvard University. It was a case that went all the way to the Supreme Court. And to summarize, essentially, people were not happy about race-based admissions. It's discriminatory. It's wrong. It's unfair. And this case went to the Supreme Court. Ketanji Brown Jackson dissented, basically saying, no, there should be race-based admissions. As she writing, deeming race irrelevant in law does not make it so in life, and said that excluding race as a factor blinks both history and reality in ways too numerous to count. What is this so-called qualified justice, Supreme Court justice, saying with that? She's saying that, yes, you come to me with this case showing clearly that some are being passed over because of their race, because of their skin color for others. But that should stay that way because of history. She said, because of history. You can't deem race irrelevant in the law because it's not irrelevant in life. She's saying that that there's racism, right? That race, what race is relevant here that she's talking about? The minorities. That's who she's talking about. And that and what's the relevancy here? They're being left out, inability to do what they don't have. That is the relevancy she's talking about here. And when you blink both history and reality in ways too numerous to count, you're saying you're not caring enough about this history so that it's to the point of making race-based admissions, unfair ones, discriminatory ones, for in support of this view. That's what she's saying there. So again, Kirk was talking facts. These people are saying that outwardly. We don't have to say it. We don't have to say that I don't know if you're really qualified. They're telling you. And so that was that. Just shout out, just kind of for the record there with Kirk. I guess I'll just let you watch these people kind of fight a little bit on CNN. It was kind of humorous because, you kind of see them kind of not want to say what everybody wants to say.
Electricity surprising mi familias asado.
Which shouldn't have even been that hard from the get-go. You should have just responded to her. Just look at her. Just look at her operate. What makes Amy Coney Barrett, all of this, you're going to see this woman heavily try and make this point, right, that you guys are trying to say that it's just because they're black. And that's the funny thing. You're going to see these guys kind of stress and sweat a bit about it when it's like, yeah, you should be able to say that. Hey, guess what? When you care about just that, you're going to get the wrong people. You're going to get mess. And then not only that, just look at the example. Look at the people running it. Look at the black women in power. Yeah, I don't think they have the processing power or what.
Amy Coney.
I agree with Kirk is what I'm saying. So anyways, just watch these people. Whatever.
Barrett, is she not qualified? White House, when Donald Trump said he was going to put a woman on the Supreme Court, and then he picked Amy Coney Barrett, is she not qualified?
She is extremely qualified.
Okay, so why is she qualified, but Ketanji Brown Jackson is not?
He talked about the qualification as well. What I'm saying is, in that clear directive from Joe Biden, in the clear directive from those companies, they are saying we are filling a quota.
Let me ask.
What does Trump saying, right, nominating someone have to do with Ketanji's qualifications? What does that have to do with that? And if you want to go off and nitpick and say, well, she really did go to school, then you can say then that puts in question the qualifications because look at her operating. Can't say what a woman is and doesn't know what fair is. She's worried about history and making sure history is that's what she's worried about as a justice, as a Supreme Court justice. So yeah, you can just say, no, she's not qualified. I can see her. And no, I wasn't familiar with the exact degrees she got and what is the standard or not. I'm just a regular guy, and I can see her operate. That's how you should have handled this woman.
I'm going to ask you again because I think you have another opportunity to really think this through. Donald Trump said, "I am going to pick a woman to go on the Supreme Court." Oh, you know what? Let me give you another one.
So should he not have
George H.W. Bush said, "I am going to pick a black man to fill a role on the Supreme Court." Are those people unqualified?
I want always the most qualified people to hold those jobs. Are they qualified
or not?
It depends on their qualification.
Was it a quota or not?
This is the moment where you can say, hey, they were wrong for that. You know, if that's what I'm not familiar with HW, but I'm gathering that that's who brought in Clarence Thomas, I guess. And I guess he said, I'm going to nominate a black man or whatever. I guess that's identitarian, whatever. But Clarence Thomas has shown himself to be pretty level-headed and just like a solid guy. Pretty much everybody says that. Besides that, just look at how he operates. I was about to say, like, what's the word I'm trying to say? Anyways, look, he Clarence Thomas, you've seen him operate with, you can go back. You don't have to, we're not doing this here on the show. You can go back to yourself and make your own decision. But he seems like a really level-headed guy to me.
It's always a quota.
And he could have said here, hey, you know what? George was wrong for that. Trump was wrong for that. What does any of that have to do with Ketanji and these people now and what Charlie said?
You base it on race or gender. If you base it on qualification, if the person is hired as black or a woman or whatever, it doesn't matter. That's
Let
the
me just
point.
ask you a direct question.
It's the ultimate meritocracy.
Is it okay for Donald Trump to have DEI quotas or not?
It's not okay for anyone to have DEI quotas.
So then why did he have a DEI quota, by your definition, for Amy Coney Barrett?
He didn't. He said that was one of the selections. People said he should fill it with a woman.
Okay.
You can't even say it was DEI just because he said, I'm nominating a woman, right? Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, and he said he was going to nominate someone. Forget the exact how that went down, but eventually it came to him saying, yeah, I got somebody picked. She's great, and it's a woman. So, you're just kind of stretching things now, trying to say it was DEI on his part. It's totally different because remember Biden, it was like, I'm going to make sure it was a black woman. That's not how it went down with Trump. It's not like, I'm going to make sure a woman, because Ruth Bader Ginsburg should be replaced by a woman and strong women, and they are awesome, and we need strong women, and blah, blah, blah. Like Biden is like, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to have the most diverse thing ever, and I'm going to make sure a black woman is VP or whatever. That's totally different from, Trump is like, Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, someone's got to be nominated. Okay, I got somebody, and it's a woman. Like, that's how I remember it going down. But
said he was going to fill it with a woman, and he did.
He did not only interview women for the job.
Correct.
Okay.
So
I'm sure Joe Biden didn't only interview men for black women for the job.
Joe Biden had said as he went in his search process, his short list would be all women of color,
and they were.
Listen,
and they were qualified.
That's not true.
They were qualified.
We're taking issue with the criteria.
Brad, I just think you guys are misleading. I'm not gonna say you're lying. I'm just gonna say you're misleading about what Donald Trump said. The day after, Justice Ginsburg died, he said he was going to pick a woman to replace her. He said that. Okay, I'm not parafrasing. That is what he said.
And that's DI.
Standard he should not have issued.
And it's funny because it's like, it may have been somewhat DI in effect. I don't even know if in Trump's mind, I doubt it. But in effect, because this is how I see it. Trump is not that kind of guy. He's like, let me just pick someone qualified and someone loyal. Loyalty is kind of a big thing. It may have seemed like she was going to be particularly loyal or whatever. And it made sense, maybe some points here with the women, like whatever, politically speaking. And isn't it funny how, in effect, it ends up being DEI, like not qualified, like, because what? Amy's not even that great. She's weak. She's weak and scared of the public, believes in racism. Yeah, that's your big conservative justice pick.
Okay. That is the criteria.
So anyways, who cares about this anymore? I want to get to my calls and other things. Okay. So let's move it on here. Let's see here. Make sure I don't move too fast here. That's pretty much it with that. Charlie Kirk. You're speaking facts. And can you really criticize the comments, like the common sense of, right, putting attention to merit over identity? I mean, just keep it as simple. We got Ronnie, Ohio. How you doing, Ronnie? You're on the air.
All is well. How you doing, Nick?
No complaints here, sir. Thanks for your call.
They don't call him the American anchor baby for nothing.
That's true.
I wanted to weigh in on this affirmative action conversation that y'all been having.
Nice.
And the Charlie Kirk comments that people sometimes take out of context or misuse to attack him. And I want to keep it with the airline pilots. I don't want to shift to Biden and his choice on who he chooses for VP or Supreme Court, or Donald Trump on who he chooses to be on the Supreme Court. I kind of want to just keep it on that pilot.
We could try our best here. Go ahead.
Okay. What airline do you think he was flying on, Charlie, that is, when he saw the black pilot and then became concerned about that pilot's qualifications?
I'm not sure. Was that a real story?
I'm not sure. I'm just.
Oh yeah, because
I'm asking. Yes.
I don't know if that was. I don't know if that was like a real moment. I think he was just kind of making a hypothetical, but I forget. I don't think he was describing a real moment, but he may have been. And it sounds like you don't know.
Well, let's say it's a real scenario and it's actually a black airline pilot.
Okay, go ahead.
So whether that's Delta, whether it's American Airlines, do you think any of those companies hire pilots that aren't qualified?
I don't know for a fact. Because I don't
you
know
think
how
they
to
just put anybody
qualified.
behind a plane without verifying?
No, I wouldn't say
that they've
I wouldn't
flown
say
them out
just
the right
anybody. No. They have
right.
They have like tests and stuff.
They have tests that they have to pass. They have so many hours that they have to register. There's training that they have to undergo, and then when they're with the specific airline, those airlines, like any other job, are going to have codes of conduct and certain rules that they have for their employees.
I think that's a fair statement. Yeah, standard operating procedures, guidelines.
Right. So if that airline, in addition to hiring somebody that has the right amount of hours, has the right training, if they say that they want somebody that's a specific color or a specific gender, how is that all of a sudden making them unqualified?
Because now you've made it about something else. If it was just about flying planes, that would never come up. That would never come up. Why would that come up?
What do you mean?
If it was if this airline you're talking about is focused on just hiring people to fly planes, that would not come up.
My question is, if they're looking for somebody that's going to fly their planes, and in addition to that, they have a specific race or specific gender that they're looking for,
right?
How does that all of a sudden not make them qualified anymore?
Because all of a sudden it stops being about just flying the plane. If this airline just needed a pilot to fly the plane, that wouldn't come up. And so for me, all of a sudden, I think I'm fair to think, rationally even, that I'm allowed to be a little suspicious.
So again, why would an air?
You say what?
So if it's an airline, the pilot that they hire and put behind the control of that airplane, they still have to be qualified.
Oh. But the airline airline is people. Like an airline is a company, right? And a company is run by people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's not like coded in rules of a video game where you can't break these rules. Like people break those rules all the time. I mean, you have a long history of not back to back, but you have a long history of aviation accidents, of a history of basically people who've made up rules and they don't follow them. They get lax with them. They let the philosophies and rules of the generation before kind of they let it get relaxed, and they're not as tough with it anymore. And then accidents happen and terrible things happen. So you're saying, why would an airline ever let anybody unqualified do anything? Is a bit of a I don't know how to describe that statement, but it's just like it's not in reality, right? Because people make mistakes all the time. Cultures get lax. Standards go away. We're talking, it happens all the way up to the military, man. And I know the military wants to be very effective, even in the woke world and DEI. They're not going to let themselves get woke because they got to be the tough military. But no, it goes to the military. It goes into firefighters, police. What I'm describing is these standardized tests and qualifications you're talking about in these industries where you think, well, that's one place where that won't happen. Guess what? That has in fact happened. They've lowered the qualifications for firefighters, for women, and for police people, and in the military as well, the pull-ups thing. So in a world where that can never happen, it's happening. So yeah, I think it can totally happen in the aviation world, and it is. It's happening across the board.
So you think that an airline may hire a pilot even if they don't meet the minimum hours needed as a prerequisite to be hired?
No, that's not what I said. They have these prerequisites, and I find it hard to believe an airline would go against like these hours filled and all that. But what I am saying is those prerequisites you're talking about aren't in stone. They've changed, and guess what has changed them? A culture of, we need to let women in. We need to let blacks in, and people that are not qualified. that culture has changed these very same rules that you've put a lot of faith in that would only give you the best of the best. And it's just, I don't believe that. I personally don't buy it for the reasons I've said.
Okay. I'm still struggling to see if you think that airlines, that's I only brought up airlines because that was the example Charlie used. To go to any other industry or something kind of shifts the conversation.
No, but I'm not shifting it. I'm on airlines. I'm answering your question. I haven't moved at all.
What people are trying to justify him being concerned that his pilot might not be qualified.
Right.
And my question was and has been, does he really think that American Airlines or Delta Airlines would be like, this guy's black. He doesn't have to have the right amount of hours required. He doesn't have to have the right training. He's black, so we'll just hire him. Do y'all really think that that's what affirmative action means?
Okay, well, I answered that quite clearly in that, no, there's no, I don't believe an airline is going around, it's not that simple. Here, let me just put it this way. It's not that simple and clear. It's more like these airlines and companies, et cetera, the world really, is finding ways to change those rules. And so, yeah, you can hire people in those rules. It's not like they're going to just, you still have to have these hours and all that. But I'm telling you that those constraints and those rules and those standards is really the word here. Those standards, those very standards that you put a lot of faith in, that there's no way an airline would hire someone unqualified, those same qualifications have been lowered and have been made easier, diminished, etc., for the very thing that we're talking about, affirmative action, unqualified people. So again, it's not that they are flouting their own. It's not like they're going against their own qualifications. I'm saying that some of these qualifications have changed for this to make this possible, right? Minority pilots, etc., and all that. Put it like this, Ronnie.
I understand.
If you had, if out of the whole population of America, you only had oh Lord, apologies.
You good?
I can't pause it. What the? Look, I'm trying to tell you that if you had a country and if you took a population in America, right, and you had a certain percentage of pilots that were black, and then you forced a company, like let's say you were a company, you're an airline, and you're looking at the data, you're like, okay, in America, out of all pilots, a certain percentage are black, but then you make it a mission to make the amount of pilots you have at your airline way higher than that. Aren't you forcing something that's not there? So therefore, you got to lower qualifications.
No, that's the jump that Charlie was making, and that's the jump that a lot of people are making, where they're just assuming.
No, I'm not making a jump. I just want to be clear. This is an addition. This is a separate thing. I'm not making a jump. This is an addition. This is a separate thing. What do you think about it? But go ahead. Say what you want to say.
You made the jump. Yeah, you made the jump. You're saying that
it's a separate thing. But go ahead.
You're saying that if a company decides that they have a number, a target number on hiring more black people, that all of a sudden that means that they're lowering the criteria or they're lowering the quality of their employees, and that's not true.
Well, you would have to, because you don't have there's not that many pilots. Mathematically speaking, there's not enough pilots to reach that quota, so you'd have to lower the qualifications to get more of those. Anyways.
Yeah, that's the assumption that I'm saying that you're making that's wrong.
No, it's a separate thing. It's a separate thing to the lowering of standards and qualifications that I was saying a moment before that.
Right, yeah, and I understand that part. So when they changed the qualifications, and when they lowered them, they lowered them for everybody, or they only lowered those qualifications for their affirmative action /DEI hires?
I'm not making there's not a specific scenario I have in my mind right now, so I'm not understanding the question.
So when the Army, you brought that up as an example, when they reduced the amount of pull-ups that somebody had to do,
correct,
was that for everybody, or was that just specifically for the people that they're trying to bring in and increase their numbers?
It was specifically for those women, but you got to understand this has an effect across the board.
Is it so? Okay, so is it all women that had their pull-up numbers reduced, or is it only women of color, or is it only women of from a
I
certain
forget,
country.
but I believe it was just women. It was just women.
All
But you
women.
got to understand
Right.
this has a weakening effect across the board. You got to understand you're the military. You're like, we're the best in the world, and so come and apply, and this is the type we're letting in. Like, you got to understand that has an effect across the board. And then not to mention the fact that you're going to have those people that are with the lower qualifications in positions and doing jobs and in places where someone who would have been qualified should be, et cetera.
Got it. So when we're talking about the airlines, to get back to that,
yes.
What I'm saying is, even if an airline says we're going to drop the number of required hours from 1,500 hours to 500, that wouldn't just be specifically for their DEI hires. That would be for all people that are applying to them. So there's not a separate criteria to be qualified when it comes to affirmative action hires. They still have to meet the standard criteria for that company that's looking to hire people.
I mean,
they're not saying
we're just going circles. Yeah, you said that already, but I got you, Ronnie. I mean, I'm saying I hear you on that. I'm just saying I don't have to buy that just because they're an airline. They are official. Look, their officials are going around saying isms like racism and affirmative action and stuff. So I don't care that they're an official airline with rules. I can see people saying lies, and I don't have to trust that. So we'll leave it at that. We're going in circles, Ronnie.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I would say, you could be skeptical about anybody, whether you're going to your doctor's office. You can be skeptical about any of them. Hold on. I'm saying Charlie has the right to be concerned about whether or not his pilot is qualified. But if he's only doing that because a pilot is black or female, that's wrong.
But it's not just out of random. He's not just like concerned over. He wasn't just like concerned about, I want to make sure I have a good pilot. And then he's just like, let me just pick a race. Let me just pick a race who I don't like. And I'm going to be concerned about that race. That's not how that happened, Ronnie. Let's be real. He picked that. He's saying that because it's blacks and women and minorities and people who are getting the program saying, hey, we're going to make sure there's more of you. We're going to make sure that our crews are as diverse as possible. We're going to make sure our pilots are as diverse as possible and all that. And it's like, yeah, I don't trust that. I don't. And then you see you're seeing some of the airline near misses and the air traffic controllers messing up. And it ended up being a woman pilot that one time. Remember that plane that went upside down when it landed in Canada at Toronto Pearson? It was a woman. Remember that one? And so you're telling me I'm crazy? You're telling me I'm hateful because I just randomly picked out blacks and women? It's like I didn't randomly pick them out, man. And then Charlie.
Like I said, he's got the right to be concerned. If he's only doing that with black pilots or a black doctor, that's where it's wrong. And I can guarantee you that those black pilots and black doctors are also going to be better than some white pilots and white doctors. We can leave it at that.
And why? Can I ask you one last question and we'll leave it at that? Why is it wrong? Sure. You said you can question, right? You're allowed to question your doctor, all these people and all that, your institutions, et cetera. It's your life. But when you do when you question the black ones, that's wrong. Tell me why.
I said it's wrong if he's doing it only because that pilot is black. Like if he had the thought in his mind, I wonder if my pilot's qualified, and he looks and sees a white guy. If he just makes the assumption, oh, I'm good, and then he sees a black pilot in a different scenario and says, ooh, I don't think he's qualified, or I wonder if he's qualified. That's where it's wrong.
So
but to say I wonder if my pilot's qualified or if my doctor's qualified, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
But in what did Charlie in anything Charlie said, was there anything that indicated to you, even 1%, that the reason he was saying that was simply because of this person's skin color?
Yes.
Really? Tell me what made you think that? What Charlie said made you think the only thing he was thinking about was skin color?
He said that black women have a slower brain processing power.
When did he say that? We played the clip. He didn't say that.
Yes, he did.
He did not. We played the clip.
He said black women have slower brain processing power.
He didn't say that, Ronnie. We just played the clip. We got the text from Mediaite.
You can run it back and you'll hear
I
him
might
say
have to. Hold on. I don't want to doubt myself here. Hold on, because he didn't say black women don't have the processing power. He was talking about Sheila Jackson Lee, Ketanji, Joy Reid. He's saying they don't have the processing power.
Oh, just those 4 black women, not black women in general.
Well, it didn't sound like it to me. It didn't sound like that at all to me.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, well, I took a different approach to it when I heard it and processed
yeah,
that.
he was talking about. Look, they're telling us Michelle Obama, it would have been racist if we said that they were affirmative action picks, but now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You don't have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to be taken somewhat seriously. He was talking about those people, man.
So he was talking about Michelle and Ketanji Brown Jackson.
And nowhere did he say black
and
women and their
Lee.
bright. And nowhere did he comment on.
Hold on.
He commented on black women. And
so
he's called them dumb.
Michelle Obama took a white person's slot.
He didn't say that specifically, Michelle, but maybe Sheila, maybe Ketanji, and maybe Joy Reid.
So elected officials are taking white people's slots.
They should.
Judges, people trying to be Supreme Court justices are taking white people's slots.
It commonly happens.
Well, it can't be general. You said his comment was specifically about those 4 women. So we have to say that he was saying that either Michelle Obama took a white person's slot or Sheila Jackson Lee took a white person's slot.
We don't have to do any of that. No, that's not how life works or language works or people work, Ronnie. We don't have to do any of that.
I didn't think he was only talking about those 4.
No, wait, hold on. Let's be normal here. Those are words Charlie said. You're like, it has to be this or that. Why are you doing that with the words of another man? Let him speak for himself and ask him, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's weird. He was either
talking about just those 4 women specifically, or he was talking about black women in general.
Ronnie,
it's one of those 2.
Ronnie,
and if he was talking about
Ronnie, he never said black women, and he was never talking about the intelligence of people. He was talking about these people. He said they don't have the brain processing power.
And if he was only talking about those 4 black women, then he's saying that one of them or all of them took a white person's slot, and that would make it worse because Michelle Obama was the first lady married to a black man. And then you got Sheila Jackson Lee, who's an elected official. So it could have been
Obama, right? So it's Obama is the affirmative action, and then his wife. So actually, it makes sense. So I agree, all 4 actually. It actually makes sense.
Obama was an affirmative action president.
They let him. Yeah, of course, white people let him. They gave you all Obama. They're like, okay, we'll give him Obama. We'll give him Obama so that maybe we can finally get past this. And that didn't work.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, that's hilarious.
No, but that's true. Am I lying about that? Like, a lot of people voted for Obama because it's like, hey, it's time. It's a black man. It's, it's time for racial reconciliation. I'm not lying about that. You know that's true.
He won both of his elections. That does not.
And so boom.
That in and of itself means he can't be affirmative action.
The whites, they're like, hey, let's just give it to Obama. Let's just do it. Obama, it's time for racial reconciliation. Obviously, that went terribly. But that's what happened.
He won because he was a better candidate than the other people that he ran against. He didn't win because America was like, hey, we're just going to choose you because you're black.
Well, I'm trying to educate myself on that time period myself. Ronnie, man, I've enjoyed this call. Can we talk? Can you say one last thing before we go? I'm trying to let you go, too. I've spent far too much time here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I appreciate you being able to have a conversation with me because obviously I think we agree on way more than we disagree.
Of course.
And to be able to have this discourse civilly, especially in the aftermath of Charlie being assassinated, I think these are the types of conversations that can at least get us back on the upward and right trajectory than the one that I think we're really headed on, which is
I love it. I don't know everything. Ronnie, call me again.
Likewise. Yes, sir. Take care.
888-775-3773. We're going to get back to calls here. I want to get back to my calls here. Let's see. What are y'all saying? What are y'all saying here? Thanks for the coffees, everybody. Appreciate that. BuyMeACoffee.com/anchor, baby. We're going to get right back to the calls. Well, what can I say? I mean, there's a couple of things here I have still on the docket. Is that the right word? What is docket? Docket. A calendar or list of cases or trial or people having cases pending. A document or label listing the contents of a package or delivery. Okay, they're fact-checking Trump. This was one I had here on the docket. They're fact-checking his UN speech. We played some of that yesterday. It was awesome. I mean, he really laid into what's happening and the truth. your countries are being ruined. The biggest political issue, I forget how he put it, but he said like something like the biggest issue of our time, this migration, this crazy immigration business going on in Europe, pushed by the UN. And guess what pushes it? It's this mentality of human rights. It's a human right. And mama spirit. And so they're fact-checking Trump. And I had this saved away. I'm kind of regretting doing this segment, though. It's a lot of I'm kind of regretting doing this one. But look, it's just weird. It's just fascinating to me that the mainstream media, in this article, trying to put out the big claims by Trump here on the UN speech and trying to fact check it all. Through it all, there's no real big smoking gun that it was a lie or anything. It was all saying, let's just start here. Like, for example, with his claims about the economy. He described in the UN speech, there was this mess, millions pouring in, COVID, inflation, Biden's running this show like a joke. It's a circus. So he comes in, all right. So he comes in and in just a few months, now he's got investments. We got the biggest companies in the world pledging billions, millions and billions. With some already paid. Like, they haven't all paid. They've all just promises on some of these people, but some have paid. To the point that he gave a number, 17 trillion. And what does the media say? That's misleading, okay? Yeah, they paid some of that, but the rest hasn't been paid. And so that's just like whatever, man. Like, talk to me when Apple and all that, they really come in with billions and trillions. But again, it's like, what are you mad about? What is it that you're fighting here? These companies are making, these companies want to make money. They want to do this. And so let's just, Trump is making deals so that what? Quality of life and wealth and all that stays here in America. And what does the media do? Right? These are like good deals. These are good developments. What do? They say, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. And it kind of goes on like that, right? It's just all good things, and they're just in the articles just saying, yeah, how about really do it, or come back to me when, you've stopped world hunger. They fact check his claims about Sharia law in London. And the terrible mayor, it's true. This what's the guy's name? Sadiq Khan. The media is like, there is no evidence that London or its mayor, Sadiq Khan, has imposed or plans to impose Sharia, the legal and moral framework of Islam. And that's how it is with these people. If there's no legal document, if there's no, if you can't find me a pilot that has been licensed erroneously, even though the qualifications of the airline says as such, then you have not found an unqualified pilot. It's like, can you be a little creative here? These people are looking at skin color over qualifications. Like that matters at all. Have some imagination here. Sadiq Khan, they haven't, the city council or whatever, they haven't, put pen to paper and made something called Sharia law. It's like, just think. Just talk to, well, I haven't been there and I don't talk to them, so I don't know. But I've seen videos, look, and they're out there, very public, very open, just asked by various people over the years, Muslims in London. Like, hey, what do you support? What do you want in London? I want Sharia law. I want Sharia law because I am Muslim. I want they say this. Have some imagination here. This lacks evidence. Mr. Khan is the first Muslim to be elected mayor of London. And nothing is different. That's literally the only thing different about London. You just got a guy named Khan as mayor now, and he was the first one. So anyways, they go on. I want to get back to my calls here, trying to move fast. About energy. I mean, he was right about that too. Energy, you want to live somewhere like that's doing anything? Your country has to produce energy. And you need a lot of it. You need it cheaply, reliably. And America has hamstrung themselves for the rest of the world that they don't care. Like, we need to produce. We need to make energy. Let me just get to these calls, folks. They're fact-checking the guy, showing themselves to be dark people who just kind of want things to go to hell. And they'd be happy. I gather from reading this article, this person would be happy if bad things were happening, because then they'd be able to say, see, this guy sucks. Trump sucks. And I just see dark hearts everywhere. Holy. John, Florida, I appreciate your call. You're on the air.
Hey.
How you doing, sir?
Well, sorry, hit the wrong button there. Yeah, I just call in and talk about the last fellow with the DEI hires and whatnot. And I wanted to fully admit that I did vote for Obama the first time around. And basically my reasoning was, I'll vote for Obama, we'll get the black president. And then when he's done, it was like 8 years before it would have happened, potentially, I'll vote for Hillary, we'll get that done, and then we can get back to being a country based on merit. And,
I rest my case.
I mean, and worst of all, back in those days, my mom would come over and hand me a list. Here's who you vote for.
Wow.
And I really didn't care. And so I just check off the stuff, and she's a Democrat all through and through. And we've gotten into arguments. She says we need illegal immigrants so somebody can pick our fruit. And I had a black friend that had her almost lose her cool when she started talking about stuff for black folks. And he's like, hold on, man. Who are you to say what black folks need? And she almost lost it and snapped on him. It was a priceless moment.
Wow.
But yeah, I all honesty, I voted for Obama the first term. I did not vote the second term because I was like, that didn't turn out that well. And I was literally ready to vote for Hillary up until Trump came on, and I was like, well, that's interesting. I've always thought a businessman would be a better choice. And then there was her comment on deplorables, and I'm like, wow, what a nasty, nasty woman. And that was the end of that. And then, I always claimed independent because I thought the whole partisan thing was designed to divide people from the beginning. But, I always voted Democrat growing up. And funny enough, my dad was Republican, and he never, ever tried to force anything on me. He just thought, make a good decision that you're going to be happy with.
That is so interesting, man.
Yep.
I appreciate this call. I definitely welcome this call for two reasons, but go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you, please.
No. That was basically it. I just wanted to call and confirm. Absolutely. There are people out here that were just like, let's get this done. Then we can get back on track instead of worrying about race politics.
DEI president, which means, ergo, first lady was affirmative action. So yes, she did take the position of a white lady, maybe. But I welcome this call, man, for two reasons. Besides the, a little bit of anecdotal proof of what I was talking about. But also, there's something. How do I express this? There's a true crime, and I almost. Let me just blame the devil here, because that's really the culprit. But to express this properly, I have to make a criminal here in this. But there's really there really is a huge crime almost done to the public when there is no example of a strong man. Because think about it, you were at the point, you had your mom on one side, they're telling you all this stuff. You're beat, right? The world told you you're racist. You got to do this. We need racial reconciliation. But how are we going to get past this? The women are at it too. And you think to yourself, growing up or living through this, you're like, wow, it's almost like a Stockholm syndrome. This is what we have to do. We have to get Obama in. We have to get Hillary in. And it turns out you didn't have to do any of that. A strong man cut through that. Because I'm almost putting myself in your shoes, almost, which is maybe strange. But to looking at America at that time, you're like, wow. I mean, to have someone like Trump, I mean, you need a couple of presidents in between there, right, to kind of bring us back there. And it turns out that's not true. the world just needed, was just hungry for, was like a strong man, right? I'm thinking about Hake having to think that Ted Cruz was tough. Like what? Right? There's something like. Are you picking up what I'm putting down here? There's something terrible. There's something really missing in the world when there's no strong men.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, my dad, he's like, nope, I've been dealing with your mom long enough. I'm not even going to waste my time. And, you can argue with her. I'm going to do my thing.
Amazing.
I mean, if it adds to the humor of it.
Yes, it does.
When my dad decided to get married to her, obviously before I was born, but he went to her father and said, I'd like to take your daughter's hand in marriage. And the first thing he said was, are you sure?
Are you positive?
But that was because he knew what kind of a hellraiser she was.
Little side eye. You sure about that, son?
Yeah. It was one of those kind of moments.
Fascinating, sir. Man, John, I appreciate your call. Can you call me again?
Absolutely.
All right, sir.
All right, take it easy.
888-775-3773. I told you. Affirmative action first lady. See, I was just gonna leave it at like Sheila Jackson Lee and like, but it goes all the way to Michelle. It goes all the way to the first lady. And it's terrible, right? Because I don't want to think. It's not. I'm sitting here wanting to think that. I'm not sitting here thinking, let me pick the race out. Let me just pick a race that I just want to always doubt. And here's the funny thing. I don't really even go around thinking about blacks or people like that. I don't really think about people like that. It just, life happens too fast. You kind of, the judgment comes maybe after or whatever. But that being said, I'm not sitting here wanting to do that. Like, wanting to doubt, right? Just because I want to pick this race out. They seem obstinate and committed to lies and falsehoods. Okay, check this one out. Look, this was kind of interesting. I don't know much about Ben Affleck, Jennifer Garner, and stuff. I know they're like actors, actress, and they were together at one point, and I think they had a daughter. Yeah, they did. They had a daughter. Her name is Violet. And I don't know about celebrities like that, but I came across this, and I found it so interesting. I'm like, wow, look at an example of what Jesse's been talking about. If I may, let's get into it here. Violet Affleck. That's Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner's daughter. I guess her last name, Affleck. Kind of interesting. I guess she took the father's name. Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner. I mean, I heard, were they married? Were they married? I'm getting that wrong. I'm not remembering. See, I don't know about these people. Yes, they were married. In fact, June 2005. Had 3 children. I didn't know that. Violet, Serafina, and Samuel. He did not have boys first. He had 2 girls first. Ben Affleck. And they divorced. 10 years of marriage. They divorced. Finalized in 2018. It's one of those things, families coming apart. We don't know the deets. Not really kind of the point here. I came across this article about the daughter. The UN thing happened. And Violet Affleck makes some commentary, emotionally charged commentary, advocating for mask mandates and COVID vaccinations and stuff. I think we even have a little bit of footage. Let's see if we could play some of that. It struck me. I found it so interesting because let me pull this up and make sure I got that right. After the divorce, I'm pretty sure I read that correctly. Pretty sure Violet Affleck stayed with the mother. Yes, yeah, grew up primarily with her mother, Violet Affleck. And they ended up having a joint custody agreement. And so they were both involved. But this Violet, exactly. So you grew up, right? She stayed with the mother. So here's Violet at this thing. In fact, I'll just let her speak here. I'll let this play. Just watch some of this. Get into what I was reading about here in a moment. Check out Violet Affleck.
We can't recognize filtered air as a human right as intuitively as we do filtered water. We can't recognize filtered air as a human right as intuitively as we do filtered water. We can create clean air infrastructure that is so ubiquitous and so obviously necessary, tomorrow's children don't even know why we need it.
She has the mannerisms of a single.
We need the people who remember.
Where am I getting that from? I've seen people like that. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Elon Musk's trans son. You know, the way this person speaks and moves their hands.
2020, who were not like me, 14 in 2020.
So she's 14 in 2020?
To be loud about the world that we were promised at the onset of the pandemic, when we and our institutions promised each other that if we only got out of that desperate acute phase, we would do everything we could to protect our communities going forward. And we need the people who are born now, we owe it to the people who are born now that they take that world for granted.
What is he on about? Wearing a mask, looking all sorts of crazy. So she shows up at this thing, right? In New York, and they call her a 19-year-old activist. Spoke about the importance of masks and other preventative devices more than 5 years after the COVID-19 crap at an event titled Healthy Indoor Air. You just heard her say that filtered air should be like a human right. These people are nuts. These people are nuts. Filtered air is a human right. That doesn't even make sense. So the government has to do everything for you, and you wonder why we're approaching a ever more like a lower quality of life standards and everything. It's the socialist mindset. You got to do everything for me. Filter my air. It's my human right. And what's this girl talking about? Like, make sure everybody's masked 5 years after all this stuff, showing up with a mask. Again, obviously that's silly. Obviously, she's just a silly woman. But I found it struck me particularly because, you know, they divorced. The daughter goes off to live with the mother. Tell me, I don't know anything about Jennifer Garner, but I gather I'm looking at the spitting image. I don't know much about Jennifer Garner, but I feel like I'm looking at her. And I bet you Jennifer hides more of this because that's what happens. You raise children, they're really like you, but they're like a more, you know, you've matured. You've matured, and in your age, you've learned how to hide all your proclivities, and your showcase personality hides what you're really thinking and feeling. But your children who are like you don't have that sophistication. and so I gather I'm looking at Jennifer Garner and I'm like, wow, imagine being married to this one. This is the mama spirit. You're seeing it masked up years later, right? Full of fear. Like, you guys got to do this. You guys said you cared about us. It's not like you cared. You guys stopped wearing masks. Yeah, the men are needed. Manhood is needed, whatever, all that. What can I say? It's crazy. But I just want to express that. JLP has been on it. When are you guys going to realize? And Ben Affleck, you allowed the women, you just can't let go, right? If it's not Garner, it's J-Lo here. You're going to stay sad, but at least you got a woman, huh? Like, come on, man, grow up. He allowed the woman to destroy his children. That's a destroyed person. I don't care what you tell me. I don't know her. I don't know Garner and their family, but look at her. That's a destroyed, scared person. Like, what a mess. All right, folks. That's the show, I believe. We done did the show. Let me make sure we got everything done here. I do appreciate all of your support, all of my lovely super chatters, Rumble ranters on Rumble, and of course, buymeacoffee.com/anchorbaby. What can I say? That's it. That's the show. I'll be back tomorrow for more American Anchor Baby, of course. Bible Thumper Thursday is upon us already. That was fast. All right, y'all. Let me say goodbye For real now. Take care. See you tomorrow. Peace.
The views, information, thoughts, and opinions expressed during this show are the individual's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of the JLP Network or Bond. Their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only. The JLP Network and Bond name and all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owner, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service.